Hi, welcome to the 1 Minute. Today's Bible reading is Numbers chapter 25 through 27. I always want to encourage you to go to onebaptist.org/devotional. Go there, you'll see the Devo. Certainly want to encourage you to go do it today. As you go there, you will see certainly laying a lot of tread work. In fact, it kind of highlights 3 areas of the Devo today. I'll make mention of some of what it's talking about, but not dueling the material there. Just want to make reference of one thing that I see out of that. But do go there. Man, it'll be an encouragement to you for you to get the information. And I would say that just a lot about life hinges on what you're going to read in the Devo today. Not that it doesn't every day, but it's almost like a warning, almost like God's just shouting out. This whole book of Numbers has been that way, hadn't it? I mean, when we just see these people who just couldn't get their walk right, they just lived jacked up, and it cost them so much in their life. I was pondering as I was reading it. Here these children of Israel were. Their purpose was to be a kingdom of priests and to make God known, and yet, man, one thing led to another. They're murmuring and they're complaining. It led to envy, which led to covetousness, which then led to the pursuit of sin, and you wind up in places like we do today. Numbers chapter 25 there, where it says, "And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab, and they called upon the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bow down to their gods. And Israel joined himself into Baal Peor." That's a little g god of the Moabites, who they had been warned against, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. I read in Hosea chapter 9 and verse 10, talking about this yoking up with Baal Peor, his people. And it says this: "They separated themselves unto that shame, and their abominations were according as they loved." They separated themselves away from God's purpose, away from God's ways, unto that shame, and the abominations of those people, God's people started loving. And man, how jacked up is that? Once again, I think of the New Testament verse, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 34, where it says to New Testament believers like you and me, "Awake to righteousness and sin not. For many, for some have not the knowledge of God. And I speak this to your shame." I hear that word separate, and it reminds me of what 1 Corinthians chapter 7 tells us. In fact, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 tells us, where it tells us, "Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord. Touch not the unclean thing." It says that after it's asking about what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, what communion has light with darkness. The question is why? We're not talking about being around lost people or unchurched people. And look, we need to be that. We need to. How can salt change the flavor of a world if it's never in it? We need to be inviting them to the Lord's activities that we're involved in. And certainly we need to be affecting them in every area of the Great Commission of our life as we are going. However, there is a difference between interacting amongst the world and abiding in it. That word abide there, where they abode, where it says there in Numbers chapter 25 and verse 1, that same word is elsewhere translated in our Bible as dwelt, as sat down, as tarried. They chose. They got bad counsel. We always need to know the counsel we're following. Bad religious counsel, by the way. But they chose to sit down, to dwell, to tarry amongst people who weren't God's people, participating in activities that wasn't God's activities. And once again, many died. A generation was affected. Why? Because they would not separate themselves unto their Lord. The world has nothing to offer. Don't bite.